Hi guys, I'm Lou,
Hey guys, I'm Z.
and welcome back to another episode of Clueless with Alam Z. Hi guys, in today's episode, we're going to be jumping into our first official episode of perspectives in the parent-child relationship. In this episode, basically, we're going to be interviewing each other as in me and Zila. Basically, we're going to be asking questions, answering questions, talking about the answers, talking about perspective, different angles. Basically, just have a bomb ass conversation. We're gonna try to, you never know how things go. So Zilo, start us off with a question on this one.
Do you think that you are friends with your parent? You specifically, as you know.
No, I'm not friends with my parents. I feel like I respect my parents to communicate as a child and parent should communicate, but we're not on the friend level. If they were not my parents, if they were my age, I doubt we'd be friends.
Uh-huh.
Like personalities, number one, type, opinions, just we're not friends, but we've got a relationship, which is the parent-child relationship. I respect you. It's like a homie type of vibe, acquaintance, don't have any problem with you, but you're not my friend. And I feel like that conversation, especially in like black things, is okay, I'm not your friend, but come and talk to me. Like, there needs to be somewhat of a balance, you understand? And I feel like we found it. I talk to you, but I'm not going to talk to you as if you're my friend. Né? Because you don't treat me as if I'm your friend, right? And I don't treat you as if you're my friend. It's not that exchange. Plus, with friendship, they could pull the parent card at any point. And if you say something that you might say to your friend, they might get offended. So there needs to be some sort of a balance to it.
Or in older years, there needs to be a balance. In younger years, do you think your parents were your friend? I'm not gonna lie, as a child, even now, sometimes I wouldn't say I'm friends with my mom right now. As like a cognizant teenager, I would say that I'm homies with my mom, as you said. I can chill with her and stuff like that. But if it was not out of that she's my mother, I wouldn't be friends with her. Nah. But at the same time, when I was younger, she was the coolest person on earth. She was the coolest person on earth. She still is one of the coolest people on earth.
Facts, but I don't think she was ever my friend. I was close to her, ne? But I think the thing is definition of friend. Each person, friend is a term. It's in the dictionary. We all know what a friend is. It's somebody. Somebody you have platonic, mutual friendship or like connection with, right? That is what you could categorize friendship with. Yeah, we would have a connection. Yeah, obviously it's platonic, but I just
It's not in that friendship.
it's not in that friendship way.
Okay.
It's not that I can't trust them, I can't talk to them, but to me they wouldn't categorize as a friend.
I understand. It's fair. Not everyone is expected to be friends with your parents.
Mm.
You can be close with your parents, you can communicate with your parents, but at the end of the day, they're your parents. They're the person who made you, but you don't gotta be friends with them. That's one of the things I kind of like of the way that we've been raised, is that my mom has that understanding that we are our own separate human beings.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, even as much as she's my mother, she's Lebanon better first.
Yeah.
As much as I'm my mother's daughter, I'm still Zile Novete.
Mm.
So as much as she's my mom, I don't have to be friends with her. And I like that she doesn't necessarily put that pressure. She'd like it, obviously. I feel like a lot of parents want their kids to be close with them, want their kids to be comfortable with them. But there isn't that within my parents my relationship.
From your perspective, yeah.
There isn't that pressure of you have to be. If you don't wanna, you can still flow nicely. Like with my dad, I'm not really close with my dad. Not really close with him, but we vibe. We have the connection and stuff like that. There isn't that pressure of I have to like you, you have to like me. All of the time, I love my parents, but there are times where I don't like my parents, and they don't like me too, and that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, not everything's gonna be perfect all the time. As people are people, you're going to have your altercations, you're going to have your misunderstandings, your issues, your tissues, whatever it is. It's just not letting it dwell and stay that way. You understand? As in, okay, now a child may be mad at their parent, and then it just keeps going. The anger gets more, until they end up resenting their parent or something. I feel like it's kind of harder. I'm thinking just like me putting myself
Mm.
in a situation as a parent. As we've stated before, we don't got any kids. We're just speaking as how we can speak out of perspective, So I feel it's hard, how can you go? You can't sort out an issue with your child the same way you could with your friend.
Mm.
You understand? Same way you can't sort out an issue with your mom or your dad, same way you could a friend. You understand? And okay, I feel like it's easier when it comes like with age and stuff. As you get older, you can communicate more clearly and stuff like that. But still, that line. You understand? Same way with if you're angry at your mom or something, you can't go on and talk to her the same way you would if you're mad at your friend,
Mm.
right? Because yes, that's the difference. That it's your mom and the friend. How can you compare the two? But even the way you approach, the way you speak, your body language changes with each. So it's not they each have their own balance, is what I'm basically saying.
Yeah, finding that balance between the parent-child relationship, like as you said, you can't talk to your parent, you can't talk to your child as a parent the same way you talk to your friends, and as the child, you can't talk to your parents. Like bringing up issues with your parents, ne, is never going to be the same way you bring up issues to your friends.
No, but that also depends, ne, on
Mm.
how it's been reinforced previously. And when I say that, I mean when you were 6 and you had a problem with the way that your mother was speaking to you, and you went and you talked to them and they gave you negative reinforcement to that, I doubt in your teenagehood you're going to remember that I don't want to put myself through the stress of having to rickroll that, ne? So it depends with a friend, that okay, y'all can talk it out. So it also depends on previously. Now I'm speaking to the parents out there, ne? Previous things and like they affect you. Say, oh, like they'll forget about that when they're older. Probably not. You understand? Especially when it's in formative ages, then it's solidified in teenagehood. It's not like completely concrete, ne? But you learn it and you basically roll with it from there.
I catch, like unlearning the stuff that your parents said was okay because you were a kid and it was okay in the house, but then in society you find out that in Tota you kind of have to move a little bit differently.
Mm,
That can be not fair. That can be not fun.
mm,
You know, I feel like teenage. One of the things of teenagehood. This is out of the parents.
mm.
This is a connection to the. This is a connection to the parenthood kind of topic. But in teenagehood, one of the things that I've kind of learned is that you learn that your parents parented you the best way that they could.
Mm.
As you grow older, the whole thing of you'll understand it when you're older, you'll understand it when you're older. You mentioned this the other day. That the whole saying of you'll understand it when you're older is very true.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, but honestly, most of the things I'm not going to say all, but most of the things that your guardians slash parents do for you, right? Most probably have a good intent, right? I'm saying most probably I'm putting that space, ne, for the room of people that don't have that much those great parents or good people to parent them at all. Because we need to be honest, yeah, right? We both know people in our lives, right? Not personally us, like our parents, we have our own perspective, our own experiences, but we know out there that we can say that people are dealing with the most. Ne? With their kids, I've heard stories. With their parents, I've heard stories. I feel like balance. I'm gonna continue saying balance, ne? But then sometimes you can't justify bad people. And as a child or as a kid or adolescents, you're trying to figure out why they did this and this and this. Most of the time it has reasons. Some of the time you won't have an explanation. No? So when you sit and you think about that one thing too much, it'll distract you from other things.
Yeah, that kind of connects. As I was saying, as I said, that being a teenager has kind of like I understand better from a parent's perspective, and that's because as a kid you always justify your parents' things You always justify anyone, not even just your parents, your sisters, your uncles, your grannies, anyone that's close to you and you actually care for.
Generally.
Yeah, family in general.
A lot more slides because they're family.
Yeah. So then you kind of pick up that, no, they did this, no, they... Then as you're older, you kind of pick up that, no, guys, even if you're family,
you don't do that.
You don't move like that. So why I say you understand as a teenager, or in my teenagehood, I understand parenting a little bit more, is because I understand those times that they lied to me, and I found out that they lied. Yeah. At that time, I was upset that they lied.
But then now, I understand why.
Yeah, now I can kind of look back and be like, okay, I understand why you lied to me. Because I go and I see my little sisters, and I'm like, I'm put in similar, I don't want to say same, but similar situations that they were put with me as a kid growing up. And I'm like, I understand now why they walked the way they walked. And because I can now see my parent without that idealization of making up for all the things that they did wrong, all the things that they did right, or whatever. Without that, I don't want to say without that rose-colored glasses on, because as a kid, you, most of the time, if you're lucky enough, you get to walk around with
some sort of filter, not truly absorbing the world.
So now, me in my teenagehood, I don't want to say I've taken off my glasses, but I've gained more knowledge. I have a wider perspective now. In my wider perspective, I've come to see that, guys, parenting isn't easy.
Yeah.
Kids, guys, we can complain as the person who's being parented. And I feel like that's completely fair. You're the one who's going through this world. You're the one who has to deal with another person who's raising you. Complain all you want. But it gets to a point in teenagehood, personally for me, where you kind of understand that your parents were doing the best they could with what they had.
No, I agree with you there. I feel like you gain more understanding. You understand, okay, this, and this, and this. And like I said, it really depends. It really depends whether you're dealing. It's harder to justify and to find balance, to find understanding if the reasons are valid. Because sometimes, as a teenager, don't you find yourself thinking, oh no, if I was them, I would do this, and this.
Yeah.
Instead of that, and that.
Do you know, kind of, with our mother's personal parenting style, it is kind of odd, because as much as I would do this, and this, and this, and this, I kind of want to balance it out with they're doing it this and this way because of they're doing it this and this way. I can have my own way to parent myself. As much as I'm the child, I have my own way to parent myself. My parents are parenting me in their way.
Yeah.
Because they have their own goals for their parenting. One of the things that we had in conversation with my mom earlier was that my mom has her thinking with kids is that they're through you, not off you. So a lot of that translates into her parenting style. She's very much not very hands-on. My mom isn't a very hands-on parent unless you ask for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say she's helicopter. At the same time, I wouldn't say that she's not really there. I mean, it's, if you need her there, she'll be there. She's not gonna be there
all the time. Yeah, my mom is one of those people with her parenting style. Personally, for me, it works. With our relationship, because of the type of person I'm growing to be, I am, and the type of person that she is, the whole hands-on, like, set the guidelines and then kind of like you move your own way type of situation. Like, the closest comparison I can make to my mom's parenting style is the authoritative, I think that's
authoritative.
Yeah, I think that's the word. Authoritative parenting style. I had spoken about it in the introduction, so I feel like that's the best example, comparison I can give, where she sets guidelines, there's rules that we speak about, but there's also that open communication if I need those guidelines to move, because I have my own life, and she understands that. There's also that open communications if rules change, or as much as they can be, as much as on her side she tries her best, on my side we try our best, because I feel like with the whole parent-child relationship with my parents, they understand that as much as my mother's first daughter child. Yeah, I'm Zile Nomvete first. I'm Zile, my person. And I feel like that's something she's also taught me that's very important.
I agree. I feel like the self-awareness or the way that we've been raised, né, has taught us, to be self-aware, self-present, knowing yourself, knowing what you're doing, how it's affecting other people, how it's affecting you, how what other people is doing to affect you. I mean, like, just perspective in a whole, And in that, as you're saying that, okay, luckily, how I realized that it's happening a lot with people that are having kids, that they have kids to live their life that they couldn't live. Their fantasies, their dreams, that, okay, now I worked hard, I had a kid young, I had to work hard and I couldn't become a doctor. The kid is born, you find out the kid is smart, push to become a doctor. At the back of your head, somewhere, right, you are seeing this life, the life that you wanted, and and they just automatically assume that's what is good for you, that's what you also want, even though in some situations you'd verbally say, no, that's not my passion in life, but it is, right? And it's kind of morphed into it in a way, understand?
Yeah, I catch. I feel like this is going to get slightly deep here.
Yeah.
But I feel like this touches base into one of the conversations that me and you have had, with the kind of like career paths that have been set in front of us, because my mom has never really been the type of, you do things my way. She's really been the type of, you tell me what you wanna do,
and I'll support
and
you
I'll support you. And as nice as that is, I see my peers
to get lost.
Yeah, I see my peers always saying that I want freedom, I want such and such on and such on and such on. Guys, freedom comes with responsibility. Yo!
Yeah, I agree with that. Like,
freedom comes with responsibility.
Knowing that what I choose right now, my passions, what I choose to follow, in me educating myself, the hobbies that I learned, the skill set that I gained,
they're in my
hands, and they're going to impact my life. So the stress of that decision is a lot, and I understand that's what some parents are trying to save their kids from, right? But at the end of it, we're the ones that are going to be living that life.
Like, because personally for us, this is how we turned out. I don't want to say that you parent your child that way, it's how it's gonna turn out. Yeah, I don't want to say that if you parent your child in the way, let's say, my mom has parented us, that this is how your kid will turn out, or this is how kids turn out.
That on that note, please hold on to that thought. That takes me into something that I've thought about when it comes to kids and the system. When I say the system, yeah, you say, when I say the system, schooling system, the way they've been raised, therefore taught to raise their kids, the straight, already paved path type of vibe, that you don't know truly how that kid is going to turn out. Parenting, I feel, in a way, is influencing. It's watering a plant. You can trim it, you can move it the way you want it to grow, but at the end of it, when the tree needs more air, when the tree needs to move a certain type of way, there's not much you can do to stop it. It's a tree. Unless you cut down the tree and restart, which I feel like parents who take the tactic of manipulation, gaslighting, all of that, you see that this tree that you planted is out of control, and you think it needs to grow the way you think it needs to grow. You're not taking into the account that the tree knows what it's doing in some way. Either it's instinctual or whatever it is. The roots need to go. If like, no, the roots are untidy, it's bulking up my stand, you chop the roots and the tree dies. So a lot of perspective, a lot of communication. I feel like a lot is needed in parenthood, in all of that. And when it comes to like the uniqueness of kids, I've seen kids raised the same way, yet turn out so differently, right? But that also goes into, are they really raised the same? You may be raised under the same household and raised by the same people, but it doesn't mean that you're raised the same.
Yeah, I feel like that's important too. It's a thing of, me and you were kind of raised in the same way. Me and you had the same guidelines. There wasn't really, if I'm being frank, I never felt that I was above you in our childhood. I never felt that I'm your older sister. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing about our relationship. You're the older sister. There's a 2-year difference. Even when we were younger, and the age difference was like louder in a way, because I feel like the older you get, the
The
calmer the
Mhm.
age difference, you feel it. So when it was still quote unquote loud and stuff, there wasn't that, oh, I'm your older sister, do this and this and this. We were always like at the same level. I could say peers in a way, because 2 years isn't that much of a difference.
Yeah, you don't see those tears with me and you.
Yeah,
You
not
never
really.
really did see those two, or personally for me, never really saw them with those 2 years with me and you. Yeah, but you will see it in our younger sisters. You see those 2, 3. They have a 3 year difference. You see those 3 year difference between our younger sisters, and I'm not saying it's just parenting style, but parenting style does change, and the influencer stuff. You know,
And I also feel like the way, speaking specifically for older siblings, you know, and let me not, older sisters with like an age gap big enough for you to be on, like, okay, now that's my little sister, you know, my little sister changed her nappies and everything. I feel like, you know, that there's a difference. You know, it's kind of, you feel that, okay, my parents were still trying to, you know, figure out their footing in parenting. You know, okay, this works, that doesn't work. In a way, I wouldn't say guinea pig, but testing. But you have to be realistic. They really did not know as much about parenting as they did with us than they did with their little sisters.
That's what I'm saying. You see the parenting styles change throughout the kids. That's why you were saying that as much as a person can say they were raised the exact same, parenting styles change with the child.
But some children react differently to different. I feel like a good parent is willing to change, willing to move around. Because as well as with kids, you're not gonna scold a 3-year-old the same way you're gonna scold a 13-year-old. You know, so you need to change everything with how you move. Not everything. Obviously, you've got your bases and stuff.
Yeah, like the morals and stuff.
In your morals
but
and things.
The way you come at things as well. Like, I feel like that's something my mom is good at. I'm not saying great at it.
Yeah.
We have our bumps and ends where there's the miscommunications and stuff like that. We are people, right? But I feel like she's very good at changing how she comes at us with the different ages. The way she comes and communicates stuff with me and you is not the same way she's going to go and communicate stuff with the kids.
Yeah.
There are things that the kids know that we won't know just because there are things that we know that obviously the kids won't know. Like, I feel like parenting styles change. As the older siblings, you can't say that you don't think we're more in the ins of family drama or family business.
Honestly, I do know that. And another note that I want to bring up, that as you know, the older you get, the more responsibility, the more information, the more everything you get, right? Comes with age, just a thing, right? Also, the thing that I think with nowadays generation, with the self-awareness and everything, and
when you say nowadays,
like age range, my younger sisters, you understand, us as Gen Z, right? Our last born, I don't think she's a Gen Z. She's a
Gen Alpha.
Gen Alpha, right?
Yeah,
I think
our youngest sister, she's 9.
Yeah.
So I think she falls under Gen Alpha.
They do have an influence in their younger sisters' lives. You know, the way they act, the way they speak to their parents, the way they move around the house is probably how their little sisters are going to follow suit. You understand?
I can safely say that the eldest child, or the 2 eldest, in some households is the first eldest, in other households is the second eldest, again depending on the age gap. But the eldest children are co-parents.
No, I agree. When it's like it takes a village, I completely agree with that. Né? And uncles, if you think about it, now I'm speaking from raised in a black family, right? And take note, it's a black family that isn't like in the ins of family, you know, family reunions, all that. We're there, but we're not there.
Yeah, we
understand?
We didn't really grow up around our
extended family. We're very close with the family that we know, the family we order, the family that we frequent. But extended family, we don't visit them as frequently. We don't talk.
We're closer to our inward family, like my mom's mom, such on and such on and such on.
And that also leads to a lesson that we've been learned, that we've been taught, that family, just because they're your family, doesn't mean that they have to be in your life. Just a note, you know, because some family, I think we can all relate to this, all ages, they can be a bit, you know, in and out. But I guess it depends. But like I was saying, raised in a black area, black family, when your aunts, your uncles, your cousins are all involved. Like my two younger cousins, I don't even see them as cousins. They're basically my siblings. And I don't have a brother biologically, but I've got a brother. You understand? So with the age thing, I was making a point. With the age thing and everything, I feel like what the younger generation with the whole thing of gentle parenting and everything and communicating more, what I've noticed is that balance is a lot harder to keep, because with this whole thing about respecting your elders and not talking back and all that, né? But at the same time also wanting to rock the boat of being communicative. And parents out there, it's hard to do the line of I'm talking back versus me ignoring you. You understand? Because I've been with my mom, with my aunts, with anybody, like just any adult. I've been in a situation onto where I know that, okay, I need to speak for what I know is right. But at the same time, I don't want to disrespect this person. Né? But this person is disrespecting me. So it's hard knowing how, I may say how it is in culture, how it is normally versus and how the world is moving.
Yeah, I think
it took a long time to get to that note or get to that point, né?
But I catch. Like, as you were saying with the whole thing, as the older generation, as the older kids, with your younger siblings, you see that the gentle parenting and everything. Personally, for me, because I interact with my siblings and such so often, and I said this in a previous episode, that parenting has always been something that's fascinated me and stuff. I tend to apply the parenting tips and tricks and whatnot that I pick up and I apply it to my younger sisters. And gentle parenting, guys, is not for the weak.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like easy because I just deal with my younger siblings. I don't deal with my own kids. We just need to take that into consideration because sometimes I'll be talking to my little sister, right? And she'll say something, ne? But in that saying something, I could come at an angle, but like, all right, that was a bit disrespectful. You don't talk to people older than you like that and stuff. But at the same time, I don't want to pull that card, ne? I want them to communicate. I want to validate their feelings and everything. But at the same time, I don't want them to be that person.
For me personally, I feel like we're kind of straying off here, but I feel like this is an important point as an older sister, two younger kids, quote unquote, co-parenting. For me personally, with younger kids, that's why I feel like me having kids is my personal opinion on kids is that I wouldn't willingly go out and have them.
Yeah, okay, let's move on on that question. The same way you're saying on your personal perspective on kids. When I entered this episode, this is a question, and this is warning right now. This is going to be a reoccurring question in most of our interviews, right? Because you said you've been fascinated in the parenting, né? With me, I've been fascinated onto why people have kids, the whole basis of it. Erasing back then, when we were made to populate, we were made to reproduce, But right now, stepping back, looking at the world as it is, right? Do you think it's a good idea to be having kids?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Personally, for me, my personal opinion, seeing the world, my own childhood and such. I'm not saying I had a bad childhood, but personally, is that I wouldn't have kids. I wouldn't willingly have kids. If by some situation I end up pregnant and I can financially support the child, I'll have the child. If I have the means to, personally, I feel like I will. If I don't have the means to, we'll see in that situation. But with that whole thing, as I have younger siblings that I quote unquote co-parent. So then I apply my parenting strategies that I try to maintain my parents' parenting strategy.
Yeah.
Because as much as I apply my own parenting strategies, one thing a lot of older kids must remember, and I feel like it's such a struggle to remember sometimes, is that your younger kids are not your younger siblings
are not your kids. Please, let's repeat that one more time. Your younger siblings are not your kids. I completely 100% agree. No, you're your siblings. Yeah. 100%. You should support them. You should, yes, in some way you can important, play an important role in their life, basically. When they ask you for advice, when they do all that, you don't necessarily need to be their parent to do that, right? But taking full on stress, worrying about things that the parent is not worried about, yet you're stressed about it, I feel like in some way that steals people's childhoods. Because you feel like I can't worry about myself until I worry about them. So in that way, it's either you don't trust your parents, right? Or for real, like they're busy or something. In some ways, I'm not bashing parents who are too busy, who are busy with work and stuff like that, nah. But at the same time, the parents who go on and do their own thing and then leave their younger kids to their oldest child, I don't mess with that. And the reason I don't mess with that, because you're disregarding their childhood, you're disregarding their experiences, their emotions, how they feel, you know, their life in a way. Because when I feel, okay, me personally, I felt it, but not in the way that I'm talking about, but my friends, people around me, I've just seen it happen, ne? Even with my aunts, my uncles, I realize it's just a thing, sorry for my stuttering and trying to catch my words, but the thing that I've noticed is normalized in society. When your oldest is old enough to be responsible and take care of everybody else, that's how it's going to be.
Yeah, a lot of
You
parents,
can't kind of let go.
yeah, a lot of parents not necessarily let go, but I've seen that a lot of parents will kind of just like shove their young kids to their older kids. And I feel like that's so unfair, because I understand that as the older sibling, I'm supposed to protect my siblings, be there for them, whatnot and whatnot and whatnot. But at the same time, I cannot be held responsible for them,
Yeah.
because as they're my siblings, not my kids.
And I feel like there is a difference, like, oh, so that means you don't want to babysit. No, it's not like that. And I feel like every time a point, or me personally, I've checked somebody for doing that, ne? And when I'm saying somebody, it's an adult. And thing about me, I've been taught to speak on something, to speak when I see there's something wrong, ne? But at the same time, with people older than you, specifically parents, and you yourself as a quote-unquote child, no matter how old you are, you could be, you're 18 next year, ne? But the fact is you don't have a kid and you're not in their situation. So it's hard for them to listen to anything you've got to say, without it coming off as disrespectful or me undermining your intelligence as a parent and as a role name. But then when you see that something could be better or something could be fixed in a way, and when you go and speak it, it's me trying to help that person, me trying to help the child, my whoever. Perspective is important.
Yeah, I catch. And and perspective. One of the questions I want to ask a lot of the parents and stuff we're going to interview is that, as a parent, how do you take knowledge? Like, take advice, not necessarily take knowledge, but how do you take advice from other parents without it influencing? Because as much as we're saying take it, as much as we're pointing out that when we try and give our pointers and stuff from an outside perspective, a lot of the time people don't want to hear an outside perspective. Honest truth of the matter.
And the point that I feel like you're about to bring up, please tell me if I'm assuming wrong or something. But the way that I'm coming to you as a child and explaining to you the child's perspective most of the time when I speak on it is because I've had a conversation with the kid and the kid doesn't feel like they can come talk to you about it, right? So me, I'm fine being that advocate, right? So with me, like, oh, but don't you feel like me would be more coming from the child straight, would be
A little,
makeable, and the parents who take other people's advice and like completely 360 how they were going. Yeah.
I was saying that I understand what you're saying. It's kind of true. It's kind of a right assumption, not what you're assuming. That people who don't wanna coming from the point of the child and stuff. When I come to a parent and I wanna point out something or something like that, or is an issue that the child is bringing up, a lot of the time a parent will be like, "Why isn't my child coming up to me?" Your child will probably not come up to you because your child feels like you're not going to listen
to them,
to what they have to say.
And the worst thing, nah, if any parents are listening here, the worst thing that can happen when it comes to in terms of communication bridge, né, and breaking it down and so on. When the child, think about when you go to somebody with a problem, you've got pride, you've got everything coming in there, né? It's a human nature. So the kid put their pride, put everything away to come and tell you, and then they're negatively reinforced. It's not going to happen again.
Yeah, and again, it's like as you said earlier on, kids pick up a lot of small things, and they sit with them and they fester. Kids take one thing you say and they'll run with it. A child,
yeah,
that's one thing I've picked up, that a child will think that you're saying one thing one way, and you're not saying it completely.
That's why, in multiple, I feel like in the communication episode I've said it. That's why communication is important. Or it's important in communication to make sure that your message is being received. Not the fact it's good that you sent it, but the fact that your message isn't being received makes it being sent pointless.
And not just that, it's being received in the way you're intending to send it. This all sounds like a lot of work, but it's a lot of work to avoid trauma and stuff like that, guys. Yeah. It really is.
That also goes into, maybe this might be a little controversial. Please, y'all don't cancel us, because we're a small podcast. We don't want to have any problems with anybody.
Yeah, but your view is view.
Yeah, my perspective is, I think when I step back and look at it, I don't think most of the time when people have kids, these type of discussions, these type of reaction or action versus reaction equals reaction is thought about.
Yeah,
I feel like when you're having kids or you're thinking about having kids, combing my kids' hair, helping them with their homework, not, I may have shouted at you this one time, boom, trauma. You understand? Especially in this specific generation where mental health, I could say, is I would say it's a pandemic, because I feel like it's happening all over the world, where it's coming on blast, where the awareness of it is now more. That my view or my thought process on the whole mental health thing, because from all the generations I've heard that Gen Z is just dramatic, these problems didn't exist before. False. Number one, that was false. Né? Think about it. Back then, we could think whenever how the mentally ill was treated. Right? They were there. They were just brushed under the carpet. And now, with social media and with everything basically being broadcast, it's harder to ignore. Harder to ignore. And now the fact that knowledge, answers always lead to more questions. I feel like I've said that before, right? So now that we know that, I kind of agree on the point of, for a second, let's say in 2020, being mentally unwell was a trend. And I feel like we could say that we can be honest with each other, where now if you didn't have something, it was weird being normal. For a bit, it was weird being normal. If you weren't straight, or if you were straight, or you weren't gay, you weren't part of the LGBTQ, you're completely normal. It's not like normal. It was weird to be
not just
okay.
Personally, for me, it's not just in 2020, because in 2020, 21, 22, the LGBTQ, a lot of awareness was brought to it. A lot of attention was brought to the LGBTQ, just like Black Lives Matter. A lot of these all important causes. With that comes the people who want to make it famous. Comes the people who want to make a trend out of it, and so
awareness came into popularity. It's been marketed now. Mental health is now a market, right? When you think business, what's spiking in sales and stuff, it's this and this for anxiety, this and this for depression. Right now, that is flying off the shelves, right? Because quote unquote, everybody has anxiety, everybody has depressions, and with the note that I was saying about how these things have been here, they've been here. If you've been struggling with anxiety, think about it. If you had to ask your parent, if you had to put it in a way where you won't calling it anxiety, it is. But I think the problem is the names, is the labels. It's now that everything is being labeled. Yeah, and I honestly do think that labels are the problem. It's because these problems were there before, and since they weren't named, they were just pushed aside. They were easier to move on, they were easier to forget about. But now that there's a name for everything and everything has a label, it's been named, you have to deal with it. And that's why most older generations, oh, crybabies this, crybabies that. It's now that we're actually working on our inner child, we're working on our problems instead of ignoring them. And as I've been saying, is change is always a difficult topic for some people or majority of people. So I feel maybe, just maybe, that's my own personal perspective, that might be people's problem when it comes to mental health and this generation. And it makes parenting, I feel it may affect parenting, because with all of these labels come extra pressure.
Yeah.
Having to see your child analyze, oh, might be anxiety, ooh, might be ADHD, ooh, might be whatever. It could be a lot, over stimulating in a way.
Yeah, these labels, guys, I'm not gonna lie, for me it's something that I dealt with when TikTok first came about. Yeah, on my For You page there was always ADHD tips and such on, because your TikTok tells you things that you like, or things that they think you might like, So I'm not gonna lie and say that technology did not kind of influence the way I moved and stuff like that, and social media. It does, and that's one struggle that I feel like parents that have teenage children, or even parents in general now, another hurdle they'll face is technology. It brings an extra bundle of opportunities, but also dangers and stuff that we do not know how to move around.
Yeah.
No parent has parented through the age of technology.
Yeah, and I feel like that also goes with, you can't use the same road for like, it's basically same situation, different circumstance. Yep, still having kids, circumstance has changed, right? Right now, in this current place, people are even guessing whether we're going to make it to 2030. That in itself, that you have to question the next 100 years, right? For me personally, is a major green light that's pointing me in the direction of not having kids, right? Because in this, as you're saying, the whole social media TikTok thing, it got to the point where you would think there has to be something wrong with me.
Yeah, like it really did. Like, personally for me, I know I deal with anxiety. So as a person that knows that they deal with anxiety, and you hear that TikTok is always saying that, oh, you might have anxiety, so and so and so. I only recently fully accepted that I had anxiety. Recently, I've always dealt with anxiety, but I've only recently decided to put on the label of quote unquote anxiety. And TikTok and stuff did not help with that journey. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was informative at times, but a good chunk of it was not informative.
True. I mean, like, there was one point where I thought I had BBD. I thought I had some sort of disorder. I thought I was a sociopath, because these TikToks would come to you, and at that time, it was like 2018. I'm not like 2018, 2019,
No, TikTok came like 2019, 2020.
Like, that's when it got big. But TikTok was still there like 2018. You were on there, that's when it was still a quote-unquote dancing app. Right? And then, when everybody got on it, that's when, I guess, the genre of the app kind of shifted.
After people left Vine.
It was literally, if you could go back, it was music, dancing. It started, Charlie, all them, it started with music, and then they got into mental health. Trends are a big problem. Are a big problem when it comes to a lot. And that is another topic that I want to jump into, trends in this day and age.
So guys, as you said, this is just the interview. I don't know if it was really much of an interview, but
it was definitely a discussion.
It was a conversation of just our ideas and our perspective,
our thoughts, basically, on
parenting and parenthood and our own childhoods. If you guys have any questions, whether that's into us in our childhoods, or questions in general that you want to ask future interviews, because we're gonna have a couple of interviews.
Planning on interviewing kids, interviewing teenagers, interviewing adults. Our goal is to cast a wide net of perspectives.
Yeah, and this series is going to last about a month. So guys, talk with us. We want to hear from you. We want to hear, what was your childhood like, you know? What are some things from your childhood that, as shitty as you learned them, that you would still learn, or that you were glad that you learned? So this has been Clueless with LMZ. Thank you so much for joining us. Please catch us every Monday and Thursday for new episodes. Bye.
Bye. Hi guys, I'm Lou.
Hey guys, I'm Z.
And welcome back